I believe that what doesn't kill you makes you stranger. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. But I got one question for you. Where is Harvey Dent? Does anyone know who he is? Does he know who he is? Hello everybody, I am so glad to be back for another movie review. I really missed uploading videos because I've been so busy with school as usual, but I'm so glad to come back here and to continue the Dark Knight trilogy. And I'm going to review the second movie, which is 10 years old in 2018, and I cannot believe it that this movie is already a decade-year old. Every time I watch it, it gets better and better, and it's one of the modern classics we have in the 21st century. Since 2008, this movie has been one of the biggest superhero movies we've ever had in a millennium because of everything of what it stands for and what it does for heroes and even reality, and I'm really glad to review it for y'all. And I am very proud to say that the movie I am reviewing today is The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a 2008 superhero film, and it's the sequel off of the 2005 movie Batman Begins to the Dark Knight trilogy. And it's directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Aaron Eckhart, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and so many other roles. So this movie takes place right off of where Batman Begins ended, and this movie features the antagonist named the Joker, and his plan is to spread chaos throughout the entire city of Gotham. So it's up to Batman to stop the Joker and to interrogate what he wants, but he eventually realizes that the Joker is not your typical ordinary type of villain, as he's someone who's very complex and incredibly intelligent in how to manipulate people in the court and everywhere else around Gotham. And although Batman has to fight off thugs with his fighting skills and gadgets, little did he know that his toughest enemy, the Joker, who was the main antagonist of this movie, would challenge him mentally. And that leads me to what I'm about to say about The Dark Knight, because this is one of the best superhero movies ever. I will say that again, it is one of the best superhero movies ever. There is just so much gorgeosity and wonders to breathe and to process throughout watching this movie, and this says a lot. And I'm not exaggerating, because this movie is just, it's not just a movie, or it's not even just a superhero movie. It is a reflection of the chaos that we have in society, and and Christopher Nolan just decided to use it through the character of Batman from the comics and decided to portray it in film, and that's saying a lot of things. And this movie represents those type of themes through direction, acting, writing, cinematography, and of course the action's great, but it's more of those four things that I just mentioned, and that's just saying something, as I've said. Now, some people are gonna probably call me a Christopher Nolan fanboy, and you're right, I am a big Christopher Nolan fan, but once again, I will say this again, just like in my Batman Begins movie review, all praise goes to Nolan once again. This is not just another great sequel, this is a sequel that's way better than the original, and it's one of those movies where it's going to become a future classic, and I cannot believe it that this movie is still being talked about and praised 10 years later, since 2008 to 2018, and I really, really love Nolan's direction and manipulation of everything of how he constructed this movie, because from his own vision, he really had a specific vision of what he wanted for the sequel. He even had a vision for the themes, and based on his direction, he puts everything in the moment, everything is on camera, and also, I also really love the way how he paced the movie, because from Act 1 to Scene 3, you are completely invested into this journey of what Bruce Wayne / Batman goes through, and it's not an easy journey, especially with how he wrote the character of the Joker, and I have to say the Joker is one of the coolest and most scariest and terrifying movie antagonists we've ever had on screen. For this review, I will divide this movie review of The Dark Knight into 4 things that people will never forget about The Dark Knight and what makes The Dark Knight one amazing heck of a film. And that goes to cinematography, set design and practical effects, acting, and the writing slash message. The first thing that people really need to praise from The Dark Knight is its cinematography, and through Christopher Nolan's IMAX cinematography, it is just incredibly mind-blowing from what my eyes have seen from this movie. And once I watch it, when I see these shots of like, not just Batman hanging on, but also to like wide shots and establishing shots of a city or, other places, it's incredibly big, and it really takes up majority of the atmosphere. You can see the sky, you can see almost everything, and you're just looking at it, staring at it, gazing at it, wonder, and it's like poetry, and it's incredibly beautifully gorgeously done, which is why I really love the cinematography. The second thing that is just unbelievably awesome about The Dark Knight is its usage of set designs and practical effects, because these things go hand in hand, especially with the way how Nolan used them, and it's just incredibly risky and honestly just unbelievably cool how Nolan did it. And for an example that I'm going to say is that people are within their location. There's not much CGI in this movie unless it's for like a little thing, but majority of this film is in camera, and especially with the way how practical effects are used, especially in fight scenes. But two scenes I'm going to talk about where practical effects and set designs go hand in hand. The first scene I'm going to talk about is the opening bank robbery scene, and the way how it's filmed, I was just surprised with, how it was filmed in this type of bank-like place that is trying to reflect a bank, and especially with how Nolan decided to direct the actors of how, they were going to portray the henchmen that were robbing the bank. The second one I'd like to talk about is the explosion of the hospital, and it was just, I was really scared and gripped to my seat when I found out that Nolan actually got a fake building to blow up to make it look as if it was really like that. And it really felt, incredibly haunting with the way how Nolan handled it. And he really did not want to use CGI because he thought like CGI would just make it a little fake. He really wanted to go for realism. And The Dark Knight is one of those superhero movies that does feel very realistic in that way. Third thing that people never forget about The Dark Knight is the acting. And we all know that everybody is great, but for me, the number one best performance in this movie is this guy over here, Heath Ledger, because he gave out one of the coolest and most unbelievably amazing performances we've ever seen from an actor. And based on how Heath Ledger was, he was really devoted into this movie. He played one of the most scariest villains ever put onto screen, the Joker, and you can say that he put so much effort and hard work into the character. When you watch the behind-the-scenes featurette, you can see how much, how much improvisation and a lot of characterization he had to go through, and how he was really devoted into like making the Joker a scary character. And it's something that I have a lot of respect for Heath Ledger for, because of how risky it was for an actor to, have so much potential to become a very disturbing character. But based on what we've given from what Heath Ledger has given us, I have to say I'm very grateful that he was one of the actors that made us believe in acting, and he also defines of what it means to be an actor, because based on Heath Ledger, he is not just a definition of a great actor. He defines of what it means to be an actor and how it means to like be within your character, because when you're within your character, you're kind of forgetting yourself. And he really defines of like how to inspire other actors into being an actor, and words just really cannot describe how much I miss Heath Ledger. And I cannot believe he's been passed on for 10 years ever since 2008, and he still left a legacy that is just incredibly powerful. So all props also go to Heath Ledger, and I have a lot of respect for that man. The fourth thing that makes The Dark Knight just incredibly excellent for what it is its writing. And the writing is something that people will never forget about this movie, because the way that Nolan wrote this movie, you can tell that he kind of became the biggest mastermind to create a movie like this. And he doesn't just write great lines, but he also writes wonderful, wonderful character development for actually not just both, but everybody, whether it's Batman, Commissioner Gordon, the Joker. But the movie is really focused on two of the characters, which is Batman and the Joker. And I know a lot of film theorists have described, have theorized that other things may have happened, but Batman and the Joker, for me in this movie, they represent good and evil. But in a way, is that it's really, really different because the way how the writing approached these messages is how they decided to use it through the lines of dogs. And once you listen to the word dog in this movie, it's related to how people go crazy whenever insanity goes through a city or reality. And it also defines about how insane human nature is and how messy it is. And one of the things that I have realized about the movie The Dark Knight is that some people may have theorized that the Joker might have been the hero of this movie, especially with the way how he spread, chaos through a very broken system. And you might be right and you might be wrong, but it's really like it's a thing that has been debated by film historians and film theorists for many years, and especially me, and especially with how like the Joker has said things like about society that are very relevant, and also based on what Nolan did, it just made the movie very realistic. And one of the things that I also really loved about The Dark Knight is that it's not just like a movie with a fictional character and a fictional supervillain. It's a movie that feels like it's reality. And when you hear about things about that reflect society, you really do feel like it's an actual reality, and that's one of the things that Christopher Nolan does. And that's one of the biggest goals that he had for this Dark Knight trilogy. And out of the three movies, this has to be the most realistic out of all of them. And it's also for those things that I've stated. It's also like what I said about the writing with everyone being developed and the characterization as well as the message. Because this movie, as I said, is a reflection of chaos within society. If The Dark Knight can excel in all of those categories fantastically, then I have nothing to do but give The Dark Knight a 10 out of 10. And guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm very proud that I was able to continue the Dark Knight series with y'all because I really, really love the Dark Knight series. And I've been trying to find time of when I can upload, so hopefully I can upload tomorrow if I can, if I'm not too busy. But I'll try to look for days where I'm not too busy so I can, make up for what I've missed. So, thank you very much for watching this movie and for seeing me describe how much I love The Dark Knight. And if you really love this video, then you can subscribe and click on the notification button right now or even the bell. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I have to go because I'm Batman.